Hello everyone, so today I want to talk about the CPU VRM section. Okay, what does CPU VRM section do? It generates the CPU Vcore voltage. When all other voltages are okay, all powers are okay, then the CPU Vcore voltage will be generated by the VRM section. The VRM chip works on 5 volts and it requires an enable signal in order for it to start generating the Vcore voltage. This enable signal is called VRM signal, and we talked about this in the previous video. The VRM signal comes from the Super I/O. Let's draw the Super I/O. Let's say here we have Super I/O or KBC. Let's say. Okay, the KBC will generate this signal and will send it to the VRM chip or the CPU power supply controller, sometimes it's called. So let's draw here this chip. Let's call it VRM. The CPU will the KBC, will generate a signal called VR on signal and will send it to the VRM chip. The VRM chip will start to check two things first. It will check whether the CPU is present. So here is the CPU. Okay, so there is a pin called VSense. Okay, so this VSense is connected to the VRM chip. The VRM chip will check the CPU if it is there or not via this pin, VSense pin. And also it will check the CPU whether it is hot or not. There is a sensor pin called NTC. Let's draw it here. NTC pin. This is a temperature sensor within the CPU. So the VRM chip will also check the NTC pin of the CPU. Okay? If these two are good, the VSense is good, NTC is good, then the VRM will start triggering the MOSFETs that drives the CPU Vcore. So for example, we have MOSFET here and MOSFET here for phase 1. Both of these are connected to the CPU. This will be driven by the VRM and this will be driven by the VRM. Okay, so these MOSFETs have 19 volts in here and this one is connected to ground, GND. Okay, the output of these two is connected to the CPU through a coil. Okay? So if phase 2 we have also here 19 volts in here. Let's draw it this way. And here we have a coil, and also these two MOSFET gates are driven by the VRM chip. Okay, so if these two, if the CPU Vcore is good, have been generated by the VRM chip, the VRM chip will send a signal back to the KBC. It's called, we talked about this in the previous video, it's called V-gate, or sometimes they call it IMVP power good, or sometimes VRM power good. All are the same. So this VRM chip or CPU power controller will send this signal back to the KBC, saying to the KBC that the CPU Vcore is good. Okay? There is also another set of MOSFETs, two of them. 19 volts is connected to the first, and to the second one is connected to ground. And also these two are driven by the VRM chip, and the output of these two will go to the CPU, but to the embedded graphics. So this is called GFX Vcore, GFX core. Okay, and also this passes through a coil. So how does this work again? The KBC first will send the VRM signal to the VRM. This VRM signal is enable signal for the Vcore. When all powers in the motherboard is good, the last thing to work is the CPU. So the VRM chip will be produced by the KBC and will be sent to the VRM chip. The VRM chip will check the CPU whether it is there or not via the vSense pin, and it will check the CPU temperature via the NTC pin. Okay? If all of that are okay, then this VRM chip will start driving these MOSFETs, all of these. If the voltage is good and the CPU started to run, then the VRM chip will send back a signal to the KBC called V-gate, or we said it's sometimes called IMVP power good or VRM power good. This is how the VRM section work. I want to draw here a flow chart. If you have the CPU Vcore is not coming. So let's say CPU core not coming or not on, let's say. First thing you need to check is VRM signal. Okay? Is it coming from the KBC? If not, check the Super IO and the previous voltages, the voltages that appeared to the motherboard before the Vcore should appear. So if not, let's say no, check all voltages and check KBC. Okay, if yes, then what you need to do next, check the 5 volts. So this VRM chip, I mentioned it, but I forget to draw it here. So this VRM chip works on 5 volts. 5 volts. So okay, if yes, you do have this VRM gate, VRM signal from the KBC, then check, do you have the 5 volts coming to the VRM? 5 volts, good. Do you have 5 volts? If no, check, let's say no, check why you don't have 5 volts. Why no 5 volts? If yes, then check your MOSFETs, these MOSFETs. If you have this 5 volts, if you have the VRM signal and you have the 5 volts and you still didn't get the CPU Vcore, then check the MOSFETs. Check MOSFETs. Okay, I hope this is clear. If the MOSFETs are good, then the last thing you need to do is to replace your CPU. So this is how you check the VRM section. Or why don't you have the CPU running? The CPU is not running. The very first thing you need to check is the VRM signal. Is it coming from the KBC? If it is there, then check, do you have 5 volts to the VRM chip? If that 5 volts are okay, then check the MOSFETs that drives the Vcore. And if all MOSFETs are okay, then replace your CPU, which is not an easy job. Okay, so I just want to highlight something on one of my previous video when I talked about the charging section, battery charging section, because one guy at the comments said, what does that phase bin? If for example we have here the charging IC, there is a pin called phase. This pin goes to 2 MOSFETs. One is called high MOSFET and is connected to 19 volts, and one is low MOSFET and it's connected to ground. Both the output of these 2 MOSFETs are connected together to the phase bin of the charging IC. Both of these MOSFET gates are driven by this IC. Okay, he was asking what is this bin is used for. First, these 2 MOSFETs are used to charge the battery. Okay, through a coil. This is a coil. These two MOSFETs are used to charge the battery. And this pin, the phase pin, is used to monitor this charging voltage and the oscillation of these two MOSFETs. These two MOSFETs are driven by a signal called PWM, pulse width modulation. And these two MOSFETs forms a voltage divider. So there is no 19 volts go this way to the battery. I think it's around 11 volts to 14 volts, I think. Okay, so these two MOSFETs are used as a voltage divider, and their gates are driven by a PWM signal. So because it's a PWM signal, there will be an oscillation in the output voltage. So this pin, the phase, is used to monitor this voltage and the oscillation on this line to the battery. Okay, so I hope this will be as good information for someone to diagnose his laptop or motherboard. If you do like my video, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you in another video.